Hello, my friends. It's your friend Bloomers back again with navigations for the week ahead. This is where I take angel numerology, mix it with some tarot, and bring you a sort of a guidebook to how to navigate the weeks coming up, beginning with Sunday all the way through to Saturday. Now, today, because it's the festive season and we are in the winter solstice, which is also known as Yule. So I am using my Yuletide tarot deck by the wonderful, talented Christopher Hughes. Now, Erin O'Leary Brown did the artwork. This fabulous deck has such lovely, lovely artwork. It's all tied to kind of ancient, sacred traditions. So, enough chit chat. Let's get right to the cards and the messages for the week. Here we go. Do you see how beautiful they are? Such gorgeous backs of these cards are quite lovely. Okay, so let's start with our week ahead. This is a week of December the 21st through the 27th. It happens to be the very last week of the year, so week 52, if you will. Now, this should be a magical week ahead for the Christian holidays, whether you celebrate, the birth of Christ or not, as well as a pagan festival known as Yule, as I just said. So when we celebrate, so this is Yule, and this winter solstice is when we celebrate the rebirth of the sun, and it's coming up today, Sunday the 21st of December, and it runs for about 12 days or so, starting just before the solstice, I would say right after this last new moon in Sagittarius, and it's extending for about a week past the winter solstice. We've also, as I said, just had the new moon in Sagittarius on December 19th. And the energy this time will be focused on healing, closure, and setting up for 2026. So from December 22nd, which is tomorrow, until December 27th, the moon progresses from a waxing crescent to the first quarter phase, moving through the signs of Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Mercury, the sign of communication, is activating Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus, which means truth will be surfacing, along with big news. So, my friends, are you ready? Because Mars is moving into Capricorn, and that's boosting motivation for taking action on intentions. It's a time for spiritual reflection on all fronts. Release 2025's heaviness by kicking it to the curb and embrace your personal inner authority for the new year ahead. So beginning on Sunday, the 21st, the solstice, in a 6 angel numerology day, tune into my Divine Daily Blast to get a little bit more of an insight into that number 6 energy. But it's really about revitalization, responsible, loving, compassionate, selfless, to stop worrying about material things and refocus on positive desires, a spiritual message to lift your vibration higher. The moon's in Capricorn on Sunday. There could be some tension abound. Someone's nose could be put out of joint, and the feelings might be getting hurt. So just make sure you're not the person doing the damage. If you happen to be the person in someone else's line of fire, diffuse the tension by trying to see the silly side of things, the funny side of things. Just laugh it off. Now, the card, which is quite lovely and incidentally goes along with the angel numerology and where the moon is, you really cannot make this up. Here we have our mistletoe card, which is really a substitute for the lovers in traditional tarot. But if you notice, there's a hand reaching down from the mistletoe branch. So what does that all mean? Well, relationships, attractions, values, substituting the power of plants, blah, blah, blah. It's about the power of plants in the midwinter with a nod to ancient druids. Now, the ancient druids cut mistletoe from sacred oaks with a golden sickle, it's said. It's a plant that has been hailed with equal favour and disdain for generations. It's also known as the plant of fertility because humans still like to gather under the bough or sprigs of this plant to express affection in the form of a kiss. Now, in Norse mythology, Odin's son, Baldur, was prophesied to die to his mother's Frigg, his mother, whose name was Frigg, who sought the assurance of animals and plants that they would not harm him. Unfortunately, she didn't consult with the mistletoe, and the trickster god Loki made an arrow from the mistletoe and brought about Balthor's death. So this card is associated with attraction of love between humans, maybe a little foolhardy and limiting. This card indicates the potential for love in a situation. It's most often seen to imply what's required for self-love and the joining of opposites within it. Let's see. Look for integrity on Sunday and take guidance from the energy around it. Moving on to Monday. Monday's the 7 angel numerology day about focus, spiritual desires and plans that are correct and beneficial. Your priorities are in the right order. The moon is moving into Aquarius on Monday. It's a day to get clear on what you want and what you don't want. What are you interested in leaving behind and what are you making room for? Now, in this card, we have the world. Again, you can't make this up. Here we see our maiden, shown as the divine feminine, but in this particular card, the divine feminine can also be hermaphroditic, meaning not really one sex or the other. Above her head, she's got a semicircle of holly sprigs. Below her feet, another semicircle of gifts. Moving all these around, I will mix them all up. So, what does this mean? The world. It's the world card in this particular deck. It's a child seeker, a dreamer, or it could be a fool. It's come full circle and matured as signified by the final card of the major arcana. So, the garden of holly is forming an arch above their head, and the 4 symbols of the minor arcana are forming a semicircle at the feet. So there's no beginning and no end to this cycle, just as there's none in the adventures of our lives. So as with most decks, the world appears as the divine feminine or hermaphroditic. Oh, that's a difficult word. Here, she's seen as the divine feminine expressing through the appearance of a child, representing births of experiences and the tomb of returning to the cosmos. So this simultaneous birth and death also means you've done it, you've accomplished it. There's no more you can do. You need to accept the situation as it is, because ultimately everything has worked out as it should have worked out. So take responsibility on Monday for the moment, bask in the glory, pat yourself on the back for all that you've achieved, because it has been through no mean feat that you've arrived where you've arrived because of all the hard work and success that you have put in. Moving on to Tuesday, my friends. I'm hoping this won't be long-winded. Here we have the Page of Canes on Tuesday. Tuesday is a number 8 angel numerology day. Success, it's a day to be coronated. It's a day to make good choices. Your prayers are favorable and they've been answered. The 8 energy is of success, insightfulness, and a person with the personality of number 8 is successful, powerful, and most likely a leader in their field. Let's see what else we can see about Tuesday. This card is talking about the Page of Canes. Now, the Page of Canes is about truth, logic, rationality. A page typically throws caution to the wind, which can be both admirable and irresponsible. Pages have the ability to respond with logic and often choose not to do so. So this can be seen as fearlessly brave. It can also be seen as ill-directed. So, on one hand, you can be in the mode to be daring and eager, but you also may lack the maturity to follow through completely. In other words, it's a bit like being a flibbertigibbet. There's a longingness to fit in with the awkwardness of social settings. So think about what's going on in your head. How much is your mind filling up with all the things you've got to do? And where are you being distracted? This comes up on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Christmas Eve, oh, these cards like to fly around, we have the list. Now, the list is also known as judgment, redemption, rebirth. But it's also a number 9 angel numerology day, a day of declaration, asking what we're waiting for. The 9 energy brings with the time to be creative, artistic, kind and caring, giving, self-sacrificing. But don't compromise anything, my friends. A number 9 person's usually a healer, massage therapist, energy worker. Pursue your passions, chase after your life purpose on Tuesday. Let's see what else we can say about it. The moon is making her way through the sign of Aquarius, and the energies could be quite serious because of it. It would behoove you on Christmas Eve to let someone know that you care about them. Also let them know how much you care about them. But avoid triggering anybody with arguments. Now, this card in particular is, as I said, it's about judgment, redemption, rebirth. It has a lot in common with the moon card and the world cards together. The 3 being this card, the list, the moon, and the world, represents the forces at play in the consciousness of personality. The limiting and traditional tarot, as I said, it's a judgment card. This card concerns itself with the divine personality, strike and polarity, leaving little room for self-expression. The card is restrictive and limiting, and in traditional tarot, it concerns itself with redemption qualities, redemption of the human personality. There's more going on in this card than meets the eye. So, what the list is trying to achieve is to bring close focus to behavior patterns and, more importantly, evaluate what your behavior has on your overall lifestyle, if that makes sense to you. Judgment is the hardest, self-judgment is the hardest form of judgment of all of them. It also places us in polarizing lists of behavior. Think about how you judge yourself and then how you behave based on that judgment. The list card is both simple and flawed. It leaves no room for negotiation, only leaves room for punishment, at least for those who are on the naughty list. So, get it together, people. The list is also linked to the list card. I'm talking about not any list, but this list card is linked to the consciousness of your personality and the way you reward or punish yourself. So the bigger picture or the bigger message is the embarkation of an inner journey. That inner journey is to awaken, align, rebirth, what happens after the assimilation. So remember that forgiveness comes from understanding, and redemption is born out of the absolution of yourself. So Christmas Eve could be a really, really moody kind of day if you feel limited, if you're behaving without limit, if you're behaving in a limited way. Let's move on to Christmas Day, because that's a little heavy. Christmas Day, I love how these cards just spin in a circle. Look, we've got the 4 of Canes. However, let's see where we are. Christ Mass, if you will, for Christians, and the moon is entering mystical Pisces. This invokes happy and bright energy. So have a really good time with those you love and those you care about. Plus, exercise gratitude in the most authentic way you know how. Incidentally, it is a 10-1 angel numerology day. This energy is where one thing or situation or story ends. And there's divine reverence for being present and awake to the pre-dawn of what's next. It is the cycles and spirals, like the pre-dawn of a new day, the pre-dawn of a new life, like the energy of the dark moon before the energy of the new moon emerges. There's a full circle moment being created on Christmas Day, an allowance for what has already been learned by you, what's already been gathered by you, and the influence that shape what is to become. What I love about this card is the Four of Canes. And now the Four of Canes is about resting, retreating, and assimilate and taking time to assimilate. So the candles of this particular, and the candles and canes of this particular card are pointed. So it's like concepts and ideas that, you know, tumble upon these canes and candles, slide right off because of the tall pointedness of them. The power of 4 stabilizes the momentum of that falling. In other words, time to take rest. The card shows a graveside in winter with a festive wreath of candy canes. It's a quiet place, a quiet space, and it symbolizes the Garden of the Dead, the place of eternal rest. So the madness and frenetic nature of Yule, which we've probably all been through, can be quite overwhelming. Now remember, my friends, there's no shame in requiring a time out. There's no shame in declining invitations to celebrate more if you feel absolutely exhausted. Self-care is the nature of this card, my friends, and a suggestion on Christmas Day to recharge your energy. The message is subtle, suggesting there's no coming back if you burn out. So take rest on Christmas Day. You've given enough of yourself and it's time to seek it. This card implies that a retreat from daily craziness of your life. It's not an option, but a necessity. Remember your own sanity. Remember how insane the holidays get. Turn off your devices. Let people know you want to take a break from the nonsense, the madness, the craziness. Now, moving on to Friday. Friday. I like this. On Friday, it's a number 2 angel numerology day talking about diplomacy. Watch the negative thinking. Go gently and harmoniously forward. Be considerate and sensitive to yourself, and then you can be sensitive and considerate to other people. Try to be tactful, cooperative, loving. It might also bring up some vulnerability with the divine feminine. Above all, don't give up. Ask for help. Reach out for support. This is Boxing Day in England, or Boozing Day as they say. The moon is traveling through Pisces. If you are looking towards manifesting ideas for 2026, they start right here under this last mystical moon of the year. So, give thoughts to how you feel emotionally, physically, and spiritually on Boxing Day, and give yourself a break, particularly if you're feeling out of sorts. You may just need to breathe and get back into alignment. Nature could be calling you outside for grounding. If it's a nice sunny day with a brisk winter breeze, you may want to go out for a walk. Now, having a look at this card, which is quite lovely, it is the Three of Gifts. Now, the Three of Gifts is all about learning, labor, skills. Notice on this card, the 3 gifts remain unopened, which suggests that the fire of creativity is descending through the emotions of the mind. These gifts are a collaboration that the candles, the good cheer, the canes are bringing to the table, everything that can give you inspiration, if you will. The woman seems like she's doing exactly what she's wanted to do by using her talents to bring joy to herself and others. Look, she's painting a house or building a house, or she's making a dolly's house. I don't quite know what she's doing here, but still. She's using her hands, and as a result, her determination, her talent, and her skill are producing this lovely little doll's house. In the darkness behind her, right in here, you've got 10 lights, and they seem to be hanging impossibly in the air. So these represent the potential held in the 10 cards of the suit. 10 cards in the suit of gifts. They influence the decision she's making to reach this point in her life. You know, the gifts are kind of like the wands, not so much the swords, but it's like the wands or the earth suit of the cards. Let's move on to Saturday. Oh, we have the moon card on Saturday, but we also have a number 3 angel numerology day, which talks about gentle guidance and reflection, messages from your ascended masters and those who we've passed into spirit, or we've said goodbye to, or we've said farewell to for now. They're reminding us that everything's okay and it's all right to have fun. The energy of 3 is about being artistic and creative, inspiring and imaginative. So the moon is reached the first quarter of this particular cycle, and it happens to be in Aries, bringing another chance to reconcile with anyone you're falling out of favor with. You should also give humble gratitude to the universe for all the blessings you may have received in 2025. Let's go a deeper dive into this particular card. Illusion, imagination, secrets. This card is the path that concerns itself with how we fit in to the vessel that is our human bodies. In this card, it's portrayed as a family unit. Here you go, the mum and the dad and the siblings, enjoying each other's company on the eve of the solstice. Well, we've already had the solstice, but who cares? The scene is cozy and warm, and we imagine that they're in the midst of telling stories. There are 2 dogs on the mantle that, if you see it, they're howling at the moon in the picture, which causes the spinning of the water on the earth, which is seen by the rug at their feet. So it's appearing like a whirlpool on the floor. It implies that our consciousness originates from the cosmos. A consciousness finds expression in the density of our human bodies. So the child is not expressed in just one of the people present, but we are being expressed in everything. In other words, a full circle moment through the moon. The moon is a mistress of illusion and does not shine by her own light, but by that of another, meaning the sun. The moon is flanked on either side. If you look at a deck of cards and you look at the moon card, it's flanked on one side by the star and on the other side by the sun. So it really is shining from all angles. They both shine inner light, inner power, and that's what this card typically represents. Let me see if I've missed anything in my notes. This is the realm of subconscious, the psychic, and it can be enlightening, confusing, all at the same time. Think about myths and stories, as well as lies that end up telling the truth that is happening all at the same time. In other words, whenever we catch a lie or we get a sense that something's not true, the moon shines light upon it, and then the truth gets revealed. I'm hoping I'm making sense. The subconscious is ruling the roost, so this could simply be that secrets and deception are around on Saturday. These can affect the body and cause disturbances in sleep, plus hormonal patterns. So your imagination may well be firing on all cylinders on Saturday. Listen to your intuition, question by whose light you shine, and be true to yourself and your own cards. So let's have a look. I think we're in for a pretty magical week coming up with these cards. What I love about this particular deck of cards, other than the season, is they've corresponded with the angel numerology numbers, and they're sort of bringing us this full circle moment. In other words, we're meandering through a little bit of the juvenile energy that Christmas brings, the frenetic energy that Christmas brings, then the big, huge whoa, rest on Christmas Day, and then we start back up on Friday, the day after Boxing Day, getting busy, trying, there's that lull between Christmas and New Year where nothing's really moving, nothing's really happening, but yet we get to imagine what's going to happen next, imagine where we're going next, and get with people that we care about, that we might like. There may be some after parties at Christmas where you may be flanked by people that are telling stories and gathering and communicating, and that's where we find our community. I hope that makes sense to all of you. Whenever I use a new deck and I come up on it's always new energy that pops up, but it also creates a little bit of a filter for me, a little bit of insecurity with how am I going to communicate this. I like the familiar, but then I also like to step out of my comfort zone, and I think that's what this week is all about. Be with the familiar, but be prepared to walk out of the comfort zone. And with that said, I'll let you get going. Until tomorrow, my friends, big love to all of you. Bye for now.